It's that time, 6 months. Every 6 months, I go through the process of looking at my perfume collection and trying to choose my 10 favorite at that very moment. This is a very contemporary, these videos are contemporary. So if I did this in 2 weeks' time, or if I did this 2 weeks ago, this list could look different, as it does every 6 months. And that's the reason I do it that often. I'll just give you, if you're new to these videos and you want to know how I go about it, essentially from my currently 65 odd bottles, also several regular decants that I wear in my rotation, I make a short list of perfumes. I initially basically pick my favorite. I eliminate sort of my least favorite 30 perfumes, start off with a short list of 30, and then slowly kind of get to a sort of top 20. And at that point, I actually go through the process of smelling them again, comparing them to each other. And I have to tell you that this particular time, when I got down to my final 10, 12, this was actually really one of the hardest ones for me to not only pick my final 10 at the moment, but also try and rank them. And I will say this, as I go through them, once I hit about number 7, 6, 7, basically anything from 7 to 1 could have been the number one perfume. But I just decided to make the choice that I would just stick with my decisions, but just know that right now I'm loving these perfumes. And one final interesting fact before I go into the list is that there's only one perfume in this list that was in my list 6 months ago. So I've got a bunch of new perfumes in the top 10. And by new, I don't mean new bottles. Some of these bottles I've had for a very long time, just ones that have not been in my top 10 for a long time. Anyway, let's start off with number 10. I don't have much to say about number 10, Guerlain's Some Mythic, other than it is, one aspect of it is that it is the type of rose perfume that I really love. And I mean the type of rose in perfume that I really love. In this case, it's very light, pastel, ethereal, and that's the way I love roses in the perfumes I wear. I don't own any big, heavy, ostentatious rose perfumes. The way it's blended in with aldehydes and ambergris in this particular composition, I just love, and it is. I loved it from the beginning, and nothing has changed for me with On Some Mythic. There's a new perfume in at number 19, by new in that it hasn't appeared in these lists before, and I suspect over time it will probably rank higher and higher. And I think at number 9, it's fair, for given the amount of times that I've worn it and the amount of time I've had it. This is Grimoire by Anatole Le Breton. Basically, here is another perfume with cumin as a sort of front forward note, part of the composition. But whereas in other perfumes, it's kind of paired and balanced off with lighter citrus notes, for instance. Here it has it's paired with incense. It's also paired with some spice, and it kind of dries down into this sort of resinous, almost sweet perfume. And I want to point out, rather than doing a full review of it, because I've done a review, I want to point out that in this perfume, the cumin comes off where in other perfumes it can come off as being in the presence of another human, that skin, sweaty kind of thing that goes on with cumin. Here it almost comes off as in you've just walked into a space where sweaty humans have occupied but are no longer there. So you're kind of getting their sillage, if you like. And it's a well-worn place. It is very evocative of old furniture, worn, just vacated space. It's a very strange effect that it gives off. Anyway, I love Grimoire. In at number 8 is a old favorite, one of my perfumes that I've had the longest amongst a very small handful. I've probably had this bottle for over 6 years now. This is Eau de Bois by L'Occitane, and it hasn't regularly made my top 10 videos before, but this year in particular, I don't know if something's happened to, I'm just kidding really. I don't know if something's happened to the juice. It just gets better and better. Maybe this past winter for me, I've really found comfort in wearing this, so it's kind of stuck in my head every time I've worn it. And I will say this: it is one of my favorite. It is probably my favorite vanilla based scent, but I think I like it because it's not your standard fare vanilla dominant perfume where it gets saccharine. It doesn't venture into gourmand territory where a lot of those perfumes that use vanilla as its dominant note get gourmand, and they try and evoke some kind of happy memory of desserts or whatever. This in combination with cypress and incense and spice always gives me this kind of fantasy, outdoorsy kind of imagery that is so far removed from your standard vanilla saccharine dessert fare that's why I really love Eau de Bois. At 7 is a new entry, one perfume that I discovered only earlier this year, and it is, and I have mentioned this before in my review, this is Amouage, Epic Woman. And it's honestly, like I said in the preamble, anything from this point on could have easily been number one. And I will say that I, at the moment, am just absolutely loving every one of these perfumes. Epic Woman is almost at the same time one of my favorite incense perfumes, one of my favorite rose perfumes, one of my favorite spice perfumes. It is at the same time opulent, but when I'm wearing it, I always get this almost bone dry feeling from it. There's so much going on. There's a lot of complexity, but it never ever gets too heavy on my skin. It's almost as if it's living above the surface on my skin through the whole wear, and this lasts hours and hours. Now, number 6 is one that's appeared in these lists before. It wasn't in the last one. Equipage Uranium. Now, this is actually a strange entry for this video for a couple of reasons. Well, for the main reason being that I have not worn this as often as I have in previous years. I've just, I guess, been wearing newer perfumes, and it's just sort of languished for attention from me anyway. But when I was doing my shortlist and when I was thinking about the perfumes, this kept coming up. And then when I was comparing it with others, like I did realize that once I started sniffing the lid, the atomizer, I realized why I have loved this for so long. And then when I was actually doing smell comparisons just to see where I would rank this, even though it is, I don't want to say basic, if it's a very simple smell, clean geranium spice, but there is an inherent like soapiness to me. And when I talk about soap, I'm talking about soap that I grew up smelling and using, and it is just the perfect essence of that particular scent association for me. And I smell it, compare it to other perfumes, and it is just like easily something that can always smell good and smells better than a lot of things out there. So that's why it's there. Equipage Geranium. I never am disappointed wearing this. Okay, so we make our top 5, and I'm really happy to have this in my top 5, and that is Pour Monsieur by Chanel. This is the EDT, and it is probably the freshest perfumes I have in this list, the freshest, and essentially it's in this list because it's amazingly well composed and made for something that was originally released in the mid 1950s, and also this probably of all the perfumes in this list always puts the biggest smile on my face when I wear it. Currently, it's just a very uplifting, mood enhancing perfume for me. I always feel classy, sophisticated, and well groomed when I'm wearing this, and for that reason, I'm putting it in my top 5. And number 4 is the only perfume that survived from my last top 10 video. That is Hermes. Eau d'Hermes, and for similar reasons to Chanel Pour Monsieur, I have that in the list just because, again, from the 1950s, amazing, well-made perfume that has a couple of imitators, but never can reach the level of the original for me, and also just always smells good, always makes me feel good, and that's like half the job done, or more than half the job done when it comes to wearing perfumes. So I can't love Eau d'Hermes enough. So when we get to the top 3, it's almost as if I rediscovered my love for 1740 Marquis de Sade by Histoires de Parfums. This in the past, was making my top 10 videos all the time. In the last couple of years, it's not that I fell out of love with it. I guess maybe I just took it for granted. Now, when it came to sort of figuring out where I would rank this in this video, and I started to smell this side by side with some of my other top 10 perfumes, I realized that there was an obvious reason why it was a perennial favorite for me. And again, another one I haven't worn that much this past year, but when I did recently, it just really reminded me of why I love this perfume so much, and probably the closest thing to a signature scent that I have. Okay, at number 2, a very strange one. Well, not strange. It's strange in that at number 2, I have a perfume that at the time of this recording had not even been released for sale yet. I was lucky enough to get a travel size when I was at Aix in March, and I tell you, it's my definite discovery of 2023. Probably, well, it will be the best release that I've smelled in 2023. New release, I mean. This is Gilded by Bougie Bougie, and it's from the Eau de Bougie line. Now, I'm informed that it should be released for sale in November, so many more people can smell it, because I know I'm on the verge of hyping this perfume up so much, but seriously, like I had shortlisted this for this video, and then in the back of my head I was thinking, okay, when I start smelling this perfume next to some of my real favorite perfumes, maybe it's gonna, like, I'll realize that, you know, even though I like it, it's not going to stand up next to these perfumes that I've loved for so long. And I'll tell you what, this is very, very close to being number one. And no exaggeration, it is an amazing perfume, utilizing a couple of notes. You know, this is a year of incense for me, and the frankincense in this perfume is chef's kiss. And also has a great carnation note in here, and there is an accord in here that I can't even tell you I can't even really describe what it would be, like what ingredients are used to make this, but it has this fantasy note of gold, precious metals, and I really smell this and imagine it. I could be sort of unconsciously influenced by these note pyramids here, but if that's the brief for this perfume, it's been achieved perfectly. Gilded is a beautiful, beautiful perfume off my skin, and I can't wait for more people to smell this. Okay, at number one, it has appeared in lists before, but recently I haven't had a chance to wear it that often, just because I tend to wear it more when it's warmer. And then I wore it quite recently, and I was reminded, I think this one is a very emotional number one, like in terms of, like, I'm not trying to intellectualize this choice too much, other than it's always smelled fantastic to me. It has very, very powerful scent associations and memories for me. The unfortunate thing is that it's discontinued, and it is Seville à l'Aube by Latis and Perfumes. That is my number one perfume at this very moment, October 15, 2023. Let's see what it's like in another 6 months when I do this all again. I hope you enjoyed this video, found some of my choices interesting, but like I said, that top 6 or 7 could have been interchangeable in any order. So give me your thoughts if you like. Tell me what your current favorite perfumes are. I always love to hear that or read that in the comment section, and I'll see you soon. Bye.